Veritas. Truth. What is it they say about truth?
The truth will set you free.
Veritas vos liberabit. The truth will set you free, which is the motto of the Johns Hopkins University. And in case you're not aware of what Johns Hopkins University is all about, it is a multi-billion-dollar operation that is a privately owned research university. It is an academic institution of science, medical engineering, research, and development. In other words, it deals with mind control. And believe me, if they have figured out how to use the brain to control an arm, then they can certainly figure out how to use the brain to control the person. The mind control prosthetics was funded for the Johns Hopkins University, which came from DARPA, or the United States Department of Defense, which of course is related to James Holmes' father, Robert Holmes, who once worked for the company HNC. Robert Holmes is now a senior lead analyst or scientist at the FICO credit score company. He specializes in neural networks and AI research, or artificial intelligence of computers. And Robert Holmes was reported to make algorithms that was used to discover bank fraud, which is why he was going to testify for the US Senate against the Libor banking fraud scandal, the largest in history. So the Johns Hopkins University, as well as DARPA, are also involved with the Salk Institute for Biological Studies, where they do quality and quantity research of the world's food supply, as well as molecular biology and genetics, stem cell research, as well as the neurosciences like brain research, metabolic research, and of course, computational and theoretical biology. And as a matter of fact, James Holmes actually worked as an intern at the Salk Institute. And James Holmes' specialty was computational neurobiology.
Well, the lab I work in is the Computational Neurobiology Lab, or CNL for short. Everybody who works in CNL does programming of some sort. One division of the lab called M-Cell does mathematical models of the cell, such as that picture there. There's also computer simulations of hippocampal functions and neural network firings. My mentor, John Jacobson, who works in CNL, is a philosophical type of guy. He's interested in how we perceive reality, specifically grapheme perception. And graphemes are basically just letters of the alphabet. And he wants to know how graphemes are mediated in spatial frequency channels. He also studies subjective experience, which is what takes place inside the mind, as opposed to the external world. I've carried on his work in dealing with subjective experience. Images and code can be placed in the frames to make the movie do things. And my main task was to write code. And I was writing code to show how our perception of causality can be tricked. And a major way humans learn is through action and effect relationships. And to simulate this on a computer, we have a key press as an action, and the effect is the appearance of an image. And actions and effects have logical progressions through time. That is, effects proceed or seem simultaneous with the actions that cause them, unless we have a temporal order judgment reversal, which I just call the illusion. And in the illusion, the effect seems to precede the action that it causes. So subjectively, you're causing events to happen in the past.
So basically, James Holmes was involved in mind manipulation, or as he puts it, temporal illusions. And this mind manipulation or illusions change the past, the subjective experience, versus the actual experience of the real world.
So lastly, I'd like to thank John, CNL, Sloan Center, Homesteaders, and family. If they want to give me an allowance bonus, that's good too.
From the moment you were born, every single message you got, everything that was said to you, everything you heard, everything you saw, everything you did, everything you thought about, every message you got was typed into your personal computer keyboard. That would be our five senses. And then those messages typed into your computer keyboard were recorded on your CD-ROM in your brain. The reason that's important to know is that part of the brain that recorded all of those messages you got, that part of the brain didn't know the difference between, and doesn't know the difference between something that is true or false or right or wrong, the law of repetition. And the law of repetition is the secret. And here's how it works. Every time you get a message and it's recorded again, it gets stronger. And then you get the message again, and it gets stronger still. So that those minor pathways in our brain that are being created by us getting different messages from the people around us, when those messages get repeated by someone else, and then to ourselves with our own self-talk, those pathways become roadways, and then the roadways become highways, and some of those highways become interstate highways, and those are the major programs that govern our life. So whatever programs you have right now, that's who you are. That's who you've become. It's not that you were born that way. You were born with unlimited potential, but we become the programs that we get most. We all got programs.
So temporal lobe research deals with the cerebral cortex, the processing of memory. So the temporal lobe is located behind the temple, which is located on the sides of your head. So the temporal lobes deal with the control of memory, language, learning, and object recognition. So you see, this is why James Holmes' mentor, John Jacobson of the SALT Institute, says it is possible for us to manipulate temporal order. We have loads of power over temporal order. If events happen in the order of A and B, a good psychophysicist can have the subject experience it as B and A. This is routine. So mind control is not a theory. It is a provable fact of reality. So the temporal lobes also deal with mood stability, which is being able to become stable. In other words, to remain in control. Thus, you are controllable. So you are able to control a bull. And if you don't remain stable, you become unpredictable, not being able to predict a bull. So the temporal lobes deal with our mood stability, which is our emotional behavior and how we feel or act. Now you know why it's called a mood. Because a bull is moody, and when a bull becomes moody, they become angry. Angry like the bull. And the reason that we become angry and mad and turn red like the angry bull is because we throw a temper tantrum that comes from our temple. That's why we have a temper. So to remain in good behavior, you must be a good little bee and remain like the rest of the beehive so that you behave. So our tempers are controlled by the temporal lobe. If you've ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Jack Nicholson, you'll know that he was the one that had a behavior problem because he didn't act like the rest of the drones. He was independent and actually wanted to think and enjoy his life, and nothing seemed reasonable to him. So he was out of control. He was not controllable. So what did they do? They had to fix and alter his behavior, which is why they attacked and controlled his temporal lobes.
You ready? Here we go.
So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is in reference to a free bird that is now captive inside of a cage, a bird cage. This is another concept of the Illuminati mind control. So this is exactly why you will see all of the Illuminati symbolism of the bird cage. So this is exactly why you will find the Illuminati symbolism of the birdcage from cartoons, Hollywood movie productions, and of course, music videos. And this is just a small sample, so keep your eye out for the Illuminati birdcage, the captive free bird that is no longer free, but is controlled. Did you ever see the remake of The Wicker Man by Nicolas Cage, where they try to control his beehive or behavior, which is why they put a cage around his head and pour bees inside? And that's what a wicker man is. It is a cage, a lattice, a prison for the sacrificed one to be caged inside of and to be burnt and sacrificed. Exactly like the mind control of the World Trade Center September 11th attacks, where all of the little birds or the people were trapped inside of the cage or the tower, which was used to implement and control the free little birds or the bees and make sure that they remain caged in the mind. So now when you watch Hollywood movies and you watch music videos, you'll know exactly the true meaning of the birdcage. Which is exactly why you'll find the birdcage in Batman movies.